Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a really profound spiritual idea from the writings of William Law. We're going to explore what he called a secret, something that he believed could totally change how we think about faith, prayer, and our connection to God.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with this pretty intense statement. What on earth was he talking about that people were calling fanaticism? Well, it was the idea that regular people, not just special prophets or saints, could be constantly, and I mean constantly, guided by the Spirit of God every single day. And Law thought calling that crazy was a huge, huge mistake.
You see, he argued that Christianity in his time had kind of lost its way. It had forgotten what he called the one essential thing. And this wasn't some new, complicated idea. It was a secret hidden in plain sight, a return to the very heart of the faith. And there it is. That's the secret. The Spirit of God living inside of us. And not just as a nice thought or a metaphor, but as a real, active, empowering presence. Law basically said that without this direct, constant work of the Spirit, all of our other religious stuff, well, in his words, it's all just death and helplessness. So what does this constant work actually look like in practice?
So, what does it really mean to have the Spirit constantly present? This isn't about a part-time helper you only call on when you're in trouble. No, what Law is talking about here is a complete overhaul of our entire life source.
This slide really shows the huge shift in thinking. So often we think of the Spirit as an occasional guest, right? Someone who pops in to help out now and then. But Law's secret says, no, that's not it at all. The Spirit is meant to be our constant life source, a permanent, internal reality that powers everything.
And this quote just illustrates the point perfectly. I mean, think about it. You don't schedule time to breathe. You don't have to remember to do it. It's just what you do to live. For Law, our connection with the Spirit is meant to be just like that, essential, automatic, and constant. And this continuous connection has one main goal, to lead us into a life of what he calls divine love.
But when he says love, what are we actually talking about? This isn't just about warm, fuzzy feelings. No, this is something much bigger. It's described as the very nature of God himself, this eternal, powerful force for good. So the ultimate goal isn't just to act more loving. It's to be so filled with this spirit of love that we actually start to share in God's own nature. It's about becoming a channel for that divine joy and goodness to flow through us and out into the world.
And this kind of love is totally unconditional. It doesn't pick and choose. It doesn't keep a scoreboard. It just gives and forgives and endures because that's its nature. Its only impulse is to spread. Now, this all sounds pretty incredible, right? So what's the big roadblock? What's standing in our way?
Well, the source identifies a really powerful opponent on this journey. But it's not what you might think. It's not some external force. It's something much, much closer to home. William Law gives it a name, the monster of self.
So here's the crucial part. To make room for this divine love to flow in, that self has to be confronted. It has to, in a way, die. Now hold on, that sounds intense, I know, but we're not talking about a literal death. We're talking about the death of our self-centered way of living. According to Law, our self-centered nature is basically built on these four pillars. They're the things that separate us from that life of love. You've got greed, which is all about getting and keeping, envy, which can't stand to see others have good things, pride, which needs to be the center of attention, and anger, which lashes out. All of these come from a self that's closed off to God's love.
So how do you deal with this monster? Well, the path isn't some complicated secret ritual. It's actually incredibly simple. It's about cultivating these four counter virtues: patience, meekness, humility, and a total resignation to God. These four things together are what Law calls the death of self, a quiet surrender of our own selfish drives.
And let's be clear, this isn't about hating yourself, not at all. It's about letting go of a life where you are the star of the show to make room for a life where God is. It's like you're trading in the tiny, cramped kingdom of self for the vast, amazing kingdom of God. And this whole process brings us to the actual practice of it all, prayer.
So just like the Spirit gets redefined from a visitor to a constant presence, prayer gets a total makeover too. It gets transformed from something we do into a continuous state of being. It becomes the very breath of our soul. I mean, just look at this definition. It's beautiful, right? Prayer stops being just a list of things we want. It becomes the soul's natural orientation, this constant turning toward God that lifts us out of our day-to-day worries and into something eternal.
This really makes that final shift crystal clear. It's not that we should stop setting aside specific times to pray, but it's about going deeper than that. It's about cultivating a spirit of prayer, a constant attitude of the heart that's always turned toward God, no matter what you're doing, working, eating, whatever. It's the new background noise of your life.
So, when you put all of these pieces together, what is the big takeaway? The main point is that this isn't about adding a bunch of new religious rules to your life. In fact, it's pretty much the opposite. It's all about a deep, internal transformation. Honestly, Law's teaching really boils down to these three massive shifts in perspective. It's about moving our spiritual life from being about external things we do to an internal reality of who we are. It's a shift from doing to being.
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. This question completely reframes the whole spiritual journey, doesn't it? It suggests that maybe it's not about climbing some ladder of religious tasks. Maybe, just maybe, it's about a complete transformation of our very being, powered by a constant connection to a divine source of love, a secret that's been hiding in plain sight all along.